On today's show, after losing 5 games in a row and some very concerning comments from one Zion Williamson, the New Orleans Pelicans have completely turned things around, going 7-4 over their last stretch of games, ranking both top 10 in offense and defense in the NBA over that stretch. How have they been able to turn things around? Plus, we'll take a look at the Western Conference in-season tournament standings, predictions, storylines, and so much more. It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the offers stay hot on FanDuel because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action right now. We take a look at the money line betting options for the first ever NBA in-season tournament. We can take a look at the Boston Celtics, who are currently minus 200 favorites on the road against the Indiana Pacers. And then the Sacramento Kings minus 178 favorites at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. And then elsewhere for the Tuesday night bracket, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks minus 200 favorites against the New York Knicks. And then the LA Lakers minus 130 favorites against the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and company. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So be sure to go check out FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started this season. FanDuel, official partners of the NFL. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Pelicans, Jake Madison. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Pelicans. And we'll get some breakdown on the New Orleans Pelicans' chances here in the in-season tournament with the quarterfinal stage right around the corner a little bit later on this evening. But first, Jake, let's get kind of a breakdown on where the Pelicans are at so far this season. So they had a hot start right out of the gate, 4-1. They go on that 5-game losing streak, and then you get kind of the concerning commentary from Zion Williamson at the podium, his thoughts on, trying to quote unquote buy into what the Pelicans are trying to do. And since that moment, the Pels have actually gone 7-4 with some really dominant wins, and the losses have been incredibly close in that span. So just kind of what's changed for the Pelicans since that moment, in the season?
Yeah, it can be as simple as they figured some things out, I think. Shortly after that, they had a team meeting to kind of get everyone on the same page. Those can go one of two ways. This one clearly went a very good way. The other part of it was you're seeing Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson simply play better basketball. They weren't playing their best to start the year. I didn't think they looked like their usual selves. And as they've kind of gotten more into basketball form, basketball shape, you've seen them just elevate their level of play. And if your two stars are playing better, your team's going to be better, right? We don't need to overthink this too much when it comes to stuff like that. And now they're finally starting to get healthy too. What ended that 5-game losing streak was getting Herb Jones back from injury. He put Luka Doncic in like a vice grip that whole night, that in a dominant win over the Dallas Mavericks. And what Nick Angstad of Locked On Mavs told me might have been the worst performance of Luka's career. So getting Herb back, their defensive stopper, was big. They're starting to get healthy now too. You get CJ McCollum back from the punctured/collapsed lung. You also get Trey Murphy, who just made his season debut the other night. This is a guy that's going to be important to their 3-point shooting. Same with CJ. So they're starting to just get the pieces back. They're starting to get healthy, and I think you're going to start seeing them play their best basketball because of it.
Over that stretch, they would have, if you were to, tabulate the stats and whatever from when that streak started, from the comments from Zion Williamson, if you will, they've been the NBA's 9th best defense, or I apologize, their 9th best offense and 6th best defense in the NBA since that stretch. One of the things, the addition or getting Trey Murphy back, I think he's such a big piece, right, for this Pelicans team, a team that does, lack for a little bit of shooting at certain spots on the floor. How important is it to get him back in the lineup for this Pelicans team to be the best version of themselves?
It's huge. It's huge. This is a guy that I think we would have looked at. Now he's not going to be in the running for this anymore. Most improved player of the year. Like, he was set to take a very big leap forward. He's a 6'10" sharpshooter from 3. He went 4 of 10 in his debut. It looked like he didn't miss a beat from being out for the first 2 months of the regular season. And for a team that needs that 3-point shooting, Zion doesn't take threes, right? Brandon Ingram's not a big 3-point shooter either. 3-point shooting was an emphasis going into the season. They took 30 attempts per game last year. That was second worst. They needed to up that number. But when Trey has been out, when CJ's been out too, that's a big deal with that as well. They've been under 33s per game. So getting those two guys back that could add legitimately 12 to 18 3-point attempts per game if they get the shot attempts, I think is going to be big for spacing the court for Zion Williamson, to letting him be the best version of himself, for allowing Brandon Ingram to be the mid-range assassin that he is. So getting all of their pieces back, the 3-point shooters in particular, you now, along with rookie Jordan Hawkins, can run 3 or 4 shooters around Zion Williamson for maybe the first time in his career. I'm really curious to see what some of those lineups will look like with playing 4 out around Zion. So I'm excited about what this team might be able to do.
I'm so glad you brought up Jordan Hawkins, because I wanted to ask you, get your thoughts about him, because he's been really solid. I remember seeing him, play in person here in Houston during the Pelicans only in-season tournament loss, I might add. Just, rub it in a little bit. I'll take my victory lap where I can. Okay, Jake?
It still counts, man. Get him where you can get him here.
Look, but he looked really good in that game, and almost by necessity with the amount of injuries that the Pelicans were dealing with, right? Hawkins was kind of thrust in there, even starting some games for the Pelicans teams. Are you surprised at all at kind of the immediate impact and kind of trust that the coaching staff has given him here early on as a rookie?
Yes and no. On draft night on our network, I called him the best fit of the lottery. They needed more shooting. They needed a movement shooter too, a guy that can relocate, catch, turn his body square up, shoot, and make the 3. They simply just needed that. And you figured that if he could earn that trust that you just mentioned to the coaching staff, he would have a role. And you're seeing them use him with Zion Williamson. Even the other night in the loss that they just had against the Chicago Bulls, they were running Zion Williamson, Jordan Hawkins pick and roll, which sounds like a real fun thing that I want to see more of with this team. So for a guy with that kind of confidence, who won a national championship in college, to come in and hit some of the shots that he does, to be as fearless as he did, that seemed right. The fact that he was going to have a role and probably be able to thrive in it definitely seemed like what he would be able to do. What's impressed me the most is all of the other things that he's done. He's more than just a shooter. He's actually a very good rebounder for his size. He gets up and can score at the rim a little bit too. He's been at times an okay defender, recently not been a good defender. That's what's going to hold him back more than anything this year. But the 3-point shooting, I expected, knowing the injuries that this team has, he was going to get minutes. The fact that he's done as well as he has surprised me a little bit, but all those other things, the rebounding, some of the defense, that's impressed me the most. And I didn't see that aspect being part of his game coming into the NBA.
We've also got the NBA's in-season tournament here. We're now out of the group stage of competition, and we are into the quarterfinals here first, with the Pelicans set to take on the Sacramento Kings. Jake, what should fans be on the lookout for in this game specifically between these two teams?
Yeah, Matt George of Locked On Kings and myself, we just did a crossover for this. So please go listen to that, because we got both sides covered with it all. But, it's going to come down to De'Aaron Fox, right? Can he beat the New Orleans Pelicans? That he has historically had very good games against them, but recently in their past 2 matchups, Herb Jones managed to limit him. If Herb Jones has a very good defensive game and limits De'Aaron Fox, the Pelicans could easily win this one. And on the flip side of it is, do they have an answer for Zion Williamson? Because Zion really started to get going in these 2 games against the Sacramento Kings. The Pelicans finally kind of figuring out the best ways to use him offensively. I wonder if they're even going to try and stop Zion Williamson, or are they going to try and more slow down Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, let Zion get his, dare him to score 60 points to try and elevate the Pelicans to a victory. No matter what, this is going to be fun. I think you're going to see some offense in this one, and it might be like a race to 135 to see who gets to that number first and wins. I can't wait. This is going to be a lot of fun. You got big name players, you got role players that are going to need to step up. It's just got the makings of like a great basketball game, I think.
So it sounds like, are you bought into the hype around the in-season tournament?
I've been bought in from oh yeah, I've been bought in from the get-go. The second they announced this on Locked On NBA with John Krause on Wednesdays, we've talked about it a lot. I love this, man. I don't even think it's for the fans in particular. You're just getting teams not load managing dudes on a Tuesday night in November. That works enough for me to get players playing, and they all seem to be motivated by it. They want to win that extra money. Tyrese Halliburton came out and was like, I want to win it because I haven't won anything in the NBA. And now you have a Kings-Pelicans game where one of these 2 small market teams is going to go into the quarterfinals, the semifinals, get that exposure, and go up against the Lakers or the Suns. And it gives you that David versus Goliath story that we're all going to love. So, oh yeah, been bought in. I love the courts. I love everything about this.
I've been bought into. It adds a little extra pizzazz, some excitement to the regular season. I will say it was a bit of a bummer that the Mavericks like in-season tournament court wasn't working. The glitches with it, whatever I don't know if it was slippery or it just wasn't. Whatever the issues were, right? Yeah, something going on there in Dallas. But you know what? I won't make you spoil. I'm guessing you and Matt had some predictions over there with your crossover episode. I won't make you spoil your predictions. Everybody, be sure to go check out that episode for a full breakdown of Kings versus Pelicans. But I will get your thoughts on the other side of the Western bracket. Lakers versus Suns. Lakers still without Gabe Vincent. Suns still no big three. Bradley Beal still out. We yet to see the big three play. Give us a prediction for that matchup on the other side of the bracket.
Ooh, that one's tough, right? You get LeBron versus Kevin Durant in an elimination game, which I think is so cool to me. That's why I love this stuff, right? The stakes are just slightly higher and it's great. I'm a Pelicans guy. I don't believe in Anthony Davis here. Give me the Suns in this one. I think they're going to kick me off Locked On Pelicans if I were to go with the Lakers or something like that. But it's Kevin Durant. Devin Booker is a killer in these kind of moments, right? He's got a couple of game winners, even in the playoffs, where that are just cool moments. Give me another like Devin Booker walk-off ridiculous shot and then ridiculous pose or something after that.
I think that would be, give me a good game as an unbiased third party. Give me a good game and I'll be happy no matter what. But it's really hard for me to bet against LeBron James, especially in like this one-off, like elimination type environment. And it's the first in-season tournament ever. LeBron's going to show up for this in a big way, add more to his already stacked legacy. So I'm going to take the Lakers in this one, but it's going to be a ton of fun watching the in-season tournament go down. And also for the Pelicans, right? What is the Pelicans ceiling now that this team is fully healthy, knock on wood? And how will they ultimately navigate the in-season tournament? Will they be headed to the semifinals in Vegas? You'll have us covered for all of that and so much more over at Locked On Pelicans. Jake, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, Jackson.